Hey. Hopefully this one works better. I was just on live like 10-15 minutes ago and I don't think it was working properly. Hi Bianca, thanks for the love. I'm good, how are you? Hi everyone. Hopefully this one works better. Bianca, thanks for the love. That's so cute. Yeah, so we'll see how we get on with this live. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it works better than last time. So where's everyone tuning in from? Let me know. Where across the world you are. I'm in the UK. Tuning in. It's nearly 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Oh, that's good. Aurora said you needed me in this moment. That's so good because I was just on a live like 20 minutes ago and it wasn't working, so I came off and I was just sat there in meditation thinking, shall I go on again? Because I was asked, there was no comments showing at all. I was like, it's just no one there or what? And then I felt like, yeah, just go on again and hopefully it works better this time. So I'm glad you're here. Welcome in everyone. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you have seen me before on live or seen my videos before, or if you are a brand new friend to Ray, in which case hi and it's delightful to meet you. I'm Aura. And if we're already friends, then I'm glad to have you back here today on this live. Feel free to ask me any questions. I scheduled the live and I did talk about this on the first live, although I'm not sure if it even broadcasted or no. Kyle from Louisiana, hey, delightful to have you here. So before we start, I'll just say I don't consent to any trolls, haters, negative energy, any negative attachments, any negative technology or attacks. I don't consent to it. Also, you can keep your black magic to yourself. Anyone that joins this spell, this energy, this intention is literally for the rest of this live. And I'm also so happy to block people, so we are in a safe space. If anyone coming causing trouble, I'll just get them out, because the block's been probably one of my best friends recently. Hey, from Ohio. Dan from Essex. Hey, I'm glad to see some comments because it weren't working before. So, greetings from Liverpool, Red Rose lad. Hey, we've got some UK people in the house. It's good to see. Ah, Healing with Hatter said you were watching before, but it was glitching bad. I'm glad you said that because I wasn't seeing any comments. I was thinking, am I just literally speaking to no one? But I could see there was some people watching, and I've just changed my Wi-Fi and it seems to be better. We had a big attack on the north of the UK with Storm Amy. If you've seen my video, you will have seen that I was left with no power, phone signal, internet or water for like 4 days. It was interesting. I always thought that if I had to live off grid, I'd like be so okay. But then like when you actually get thrown into it and you're not quite fully prepared and it's like everything at once. It's not just like, if I had at least had, say, phone signal, or if I at least had water or something, it would have made everything easier. But because it was all in like the same time, at least had, say, phone signal, or if I at least had water or something, it would have made everything easier. But because it was all in like the same time. But we're back in business. That's good, actually. But we're back in business. That's good, actually. Actually, I did a video talking about how the guys, the terrorists who are on the targeted individual mind hacker grid. I did a video saying they're on a different grid, and what I've actually been quite interesting is that, I don't know if it's true, but I read that in these down or something, but what actually seems in, based on rumours, I don't know if it's true, is that it looks like a shutdown, but what they're doing is shutting down or tracking these mass surveillance networks. And with all the power and internet going off, it's still glitching for you guys. Is it glitching for anyone else? Tell me if it's glitching for anyone else. Let me try. So let's see if it's any better now, because I've just swapped my Wi-Fi over again. I'm going to just do some test talking, and if it's all good then let me know, and if it's glitching then crap, because I don't know what to do after that. Testing the audio, let me know if it's glitching or if it's okay. Testing the audio, let me know. So Aita saying it's good. Okay, yes. It might be a bit lagging, but that's okay. We can deal with lag as long as it's not glitching. Perfect. Okay, Annie said it's better. So I've heard in the US and perhaps all over the world that the white hats are trying to take out I can see it's glitching again. The white hats are trying to take out the spying network that they are using to target people with. And so with all of our like internet and service and power going off in the UK for a lot of people, it allowed the space to find out where their network was and to be able to hack onto their network. So I feel like even though we was left without power and Wi-Fi, it was actually all a plan from God to try and target the ones that are targeting the public. So, God, Archangel Zadkiel, make this live go well. Make this live go well, make all the tech go well, make sure the tech's streaming beautifully and not glitching at all for anyone. Ta. So we'll see how we get on. So, I've got a book club that I've launched with the Great Light Garden. We're having our first call on the 6th of November, and we're going to be reading the Essene Gospel of Peace. One of those great texts that was taken out of, it was basically hidden. And so I started reading it myself, and I just was so, like, my mind was so opened by it. I couldn't believe how powerful it was, and I thought I want to read it together as a group. So we're doing a group temple study to study different ancient texts, and the first one we're going to do is the Seeing Gospel of Peace. I still don't know if it's working or not, you know this. And he says it's working, that's good. Okay, it's good. Robertino, hey, you're from Poland. Delightful to have you here. So if you guys had any questions, feel free to ask me any questions at all. I've got a new show that's actually starting on next Mercury Ray, which is Wednesday, and it's going to be free on my TikTok live I'm going on with Aurora. She's called Rising Phoenix Aurora. We've done a recent live where we were sharing about Tartaria, Flat Earth, Inner Earth, the giants, Antarctica, the ice walls, and so we're going to be going live next Wednesday, Mercury Ray, and the show's called Reseeding Eden. I'm from the UK, she's from the US, and we're going to be sharing kind of updates, talking about world events, and also talking about like how and what we can be doing in our own lives throughout all of these world events that are going on. So it's going to be at 7 p.m. UK time, and that would be 1 p.m. CST time, so Central Time would be 1 p.m. I think. And so yeah, we're going to have a really good conversation talking about, I've like wrote down notes about everything that's been going on in the UK and across Europe, because she's going to cover that side of the earth and I'm going to cover this side of the earth. So Aita said, you know, the Seeing Gospel of Peace is written by Edmund in 1905. I did, but also I need to look into it more, because I thought that it was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But just because something's been written recently, I don't think it takes... The Bible's not the actual words of Jesus either, and people have built a whole religion around it. But I think that what I was reading in it was really powerful, and it talks about this is how the Essenes lived, and I fully, in my soul, agree with it. So I'd need to look into it, but I don't discredit something just because it's come recently. If it's got truth in, it's got truth in regardless. So I'm looking forward to diving deep with you guys, because when I was reading it, I just couldn't believe the stuff. I was like, this is so good, too good not to share and to read together. So what's my opinion on the digital ID, and what should we all do? I feel like it's going to be the same as what happened in 2020 with the flu. Call it the flu. So when that happened, they said everyone needed to take something in order for life to go on as usual, and they called it mandatory. It's mandatory that you need to have something in order for life to carry on as usual. And mandatory doesn't mean you have to, it means it's optional. They use legalese and different words to trick us into giving our own consent and walking ourselves into the trap. So mandatory, they're saying it's mandatory, that doesn't mean you actually have to do it, that means it's optional. And so I feel like what's going to happen is the same as what happened with the in 2020 where like a big group of people won't go ahead with it, and then eventually it'll get to this point where they go, oh, okay, never mind then, like, oh, actually it's all good, we got it wrong, and eventually you get past it. So at first, when that happened in 2020, everyone was like, oh my god, you're going to lose your job if you don't have this, like life's not going to be the same, like we're going to get put in camps if we don't have this. It got to this point where you thought, oh my gosh, it's either we have this, otherwise it's going to be like, well, who knows what's going to happen. But then it never got to that. It got to this point of they tried to bribe people, blackmail people, push people into it, but so many people didn't go ahead with it that eventually they just had to let it go and drop it. And then like they tried so much propaganda and everything and it just didn't work. So I feel like it's going to be the same again, but actually it's going to feel even worse than what that did, because so many more people are awake to it now. They're awake to the way that they play these games. So I feel like that's what's going to happen, is people will just resist and then they'll just get over it at some point. Or force people to build their own systems. And to be honest, it's like when that happened, some people really struggled. I'm talking about in 2020 what happened. Some people really struggled, and some people lost their job, started their own business and are now like millionaires. And some people started their own business and they're no millionaires, but they're living their purpose, they're living their passion, and they've got that business that they would have never started had they not been pushed into it. So if it really gets to the point where they go, you can't work without one of these, this might be all of our opportunity to start that business, to start like build that business, like work for yourself. Like maybe this is the time for us to step off the grid then, or not need to rely on the stuff. Like when the 2020 thing happened, like I'd already stopped going out clubbing and drinking. I'd already stopped going and eating at restaurants, like because I'm raw and you can't really get much raw vegan food in the restaurants. But I'd stopped. I don't drink, so don't go out clubbing anymore, don't go to the restaurants. Like all of the stuff that people were saying, oh no, like I can't do all the fun stuff. I was like, I don't do that anyway. Like all I do is go for walks in the parks and in nature. And since in 2020, everyone had more time to do that anyway. So for me, it was like, it didn't change my life one tiny little bit, other than being able to actually work from home and have more time to go out in nature. Perfect. So I feel like it always can be a blessing or a curse, depending on like how prepared you are mentally, if you have already set yourself up to be able to cope with these types of things, if you've already let go of the mainstream stuff. Like for example, if they said like it's a really extreme example this probably, but if they were like, oh, you can't go to the shops and buy food anymore if you don't have this. Well, if you're a raw vegan, you could definitely find herbs, plants, like you can definitely find stuff to eat without needing to go to the shops. I don't think it would ever get to that. But because I've let go of eating bread, eating crisps and all that, then I could, even though I would prefer to have like fresh fruit and vegetables that are freshly grown, I could survive on like just foraging, and I wouldn't suffer that much, because I'm not like suffering withdrawals from all the food I was addicted to, because addiction's a real thing and it's not about willpower. It's your body physically gets addicted to stuff. So if you're eating junk food and bread and drinking alcohol, or you've got these addictions, and then someone says you can't have these foods you were addicted to unless you get one of these digital ID, or in 2020 the VAX or whatever, then you would really struggle, because it's an addiction, and addiction makes people like fight. People would kill over a loaf of bread to feed their family, but that's the addiction, because they could feed their family through fresh apples from an apple tree. They could go and forage a load of raspberries, but people fight over the food they're addicted to, because like addictions, they almost override your sense of like rather than coming from a place of like humanity and love, you come from this place of survival, and it turns on this like almost like an animalistic nature where you'll turn on people to get these things, and it's like you're not even thinking straight. And I talk from experience because I have been an addict. So I was addicted to weed and cigarettes, and junk food as well. And so like being able to let go of all of that, I can now let go of most things. There's not really much people could bribe me on, have this digital ID, otherwise you can't do this. I don't care. I've already let go of all. I don't need to do any of the stuff you're asking us to do. I don't need to get a free donut from McDonald's to go and get a digital ID. Whatever it is that they were, whatever it was that they were tricking people into getting. My hair, by the way, some of you probably have guessed, but it's a wig. It's a wig, this hair. So I've been dyeing my hair blonde for time. Keep growing it out brown because it's naturally brown, and I keep wanting it to be healthy, but I prefer the way that it looks blonde. So then I'll go blonde, and then it grows out really quick, and I was starting to straighten it as well, and it was just going thin, and I was like, I want to just look after my hair. So I had this wig in my cupboard from 2 years ago, and I just cut it, plucked some of the hairs out the front, and I thought this will do. In person it doesn't look this good. It, like I say this good, I mean it looks, I would never walk out the house with this wig on in person because it definitely looks like a wig. But on videos you can't really tell, or if you can, I'm passing with it. So I like the colour, and because it's so light, almost like a whitey blonde in certain videos, it makes me feel like I look a bit elfin, like a fairy or an elf or something, and I feel like it captures people's attention instantly. So like fighting for people's attention, you're trying to do socials, I'm trying to share truths, and so if you just have something that makes people stop and go, what's that elf talking about? Then you can share your truth, and people are open to it because they're interested, if you get what I mean. Thanks, everyone. Yes. So, lots to share lots and lots to share. Oh wow, Helen said you've got a streak at the front of your hair, you've had it for years, that is silver, that's so beautiful. If I was to possibly, I would just love to have one of those streaks or something. With my hair, naturally, I have noticed like 1 or 2 like grey strands randomly, but I'd really love it to just like, if I was gonna go grey, for it to come through really cool rather than just like say loads of grey roots and then brown. Like I would really love it to just look really good. You would hope, wouldn't you? Wilman saying, you said you wanted to do a Christian live. I'm not really a Christian, but I was trained by Jesus. I'm not a Christian, I'm a Christ I am. So there's a difference, because Christ I ams walk the path of Jesus and become Christs. The same as Buddhas, same as Krishnas. You basically, you're not just like reading the Bible and taking that word for word. You're remembering the truths in your soul because you walked with Jesus in past lives. So it's like being one of the Essenes or one of his disciples, as opposed to just like going to church on a Sunday and then reading the Bible and trying to shit all over everyone else and try and call everyone else demonic, when you haven't really met Jesus or God yourself. I find it better to get to know God and Jesus outside the Bible, because you get to actually know them, as opposed to just reading a text that was written hundreds of years after Jesus was even on the earth. When I started reading the Bible, I felt sick to my stomach at all the incest, slavery, misogyny, all of the pedo stuff. Like, yeah, I didn't really find any of it very interesting at all. The best part of the Bible was the Garden of Eden, when everyone was vegan, the way God created us before man fell from grace, before we lost our enlightenment and our awareness, before we descended in consciousness. And so I hold hope for Eden again, and that's what I project onto this plane, is Eden, walking Jesus' true path. Helen found God in your own way. Well done with your addiction as well, because it is difficult. And what I find sometimes is I cancel and delete that spell. It's easy because I don't want to put that on people, but if you haven't actually experienced having an addiction, I don't think you can really understand what it's like trying to overcome it, and like the way it kind of has hold of your mind and stuff. It's one of those where, like, I've seen some people, they'll say, oh, my mum was addicted and she loved the alcohol more than she loved us. It's not like that. It's like it takes over your whole mind and your whole vessel on like all levels. It's physical, but it's spiritual as well. It's mental, it's emotional. There's so much to it. And people, when I was addicted to cigarettes, and I know it's not like, it's hardly a hardcore addiction compared to what some people have, but an addiction is an addiction when you're trying to overcome it, and you've got that physical, like those cravings, those withdrawals, and you're acting. I would act horrible when I was really needing a cigarette. I would like snap at people, be really angry at them, and I wouldn't be myself. And then once I would like be so horrible that I needed to have a cigarette just to feel normal again. This is when I was like trying to quit. I couldn't go cold turkey. I was trying, but I was like getting really angry. Had to have a cig just to feel normal again, and then I would cry about how horrible I was to people. So people who are addicted, they don't want to act the way they're acting. In fact, they probably cry to themselves once they come back round to normality again, or sobriety, or but it's like it takes over your mind and your vessel at the time. Yeah, Helen said you was on every class A drug, but it opened your mind in the end and made your Kundalini and spiritual awakening. I feel like sometimes we choose it as part of our paths. When I was at uni, I was taking all sorts of substances, and they all like opened my mind, expanded my awareness in so many different ways. And I feel again, like if you hadn't tried any drugs, perhaps you can't quite understand the way it opens your mind and like awakens your soul. Not all of them. Some are good and some are bad, but there's some like MDMA or ecstasy. They're called entheogens, and an entheogen means in God, within. It brings God within, basically, so it allows you to experience the mind of God. And people, when you have this ecstasy experience, it's allowing you to feel what it feels like to be connected with the divine. And I feel like some of these substances are put here so that we can remember on a soul level. Remember like our true like heritage, like remember where we came from, remember how good we can feel. And especially, I don't know if any of you guys are vegan, but when I went vegan, it was like a cleaner high where I was actually accessing even higher planes than when I had animal products. And this is why I think in shamanism, they say, like, if you're going to do like ayahuasca, they say just make sure you've not eaten meat for at least 2 weeks or something, because otherwise the animal consciousness can cloud your experiences, and you don't want the acidity within and stuff like that. And so yeah, like it's amazing, really. Karma free food, more like, yeah, the most karma free being fruit, and then breath and sunlight. Yeah, Rosie, it's you just talk about what you've been through, don't you? So I'm glad you're here as well. Helen's trying to give up vapes. There is a book, because what I I'll try and tell this quick because it's quite a long story, but when I was addicted to like my cigarettes, my junk food and my weed, I've been trying cold turkey, I was trying vapes because I wanted to get off it, but with the vapes, they were receding my gums, and also they still had nicotine in, so I was like, I don't want to be on nicotine, I wanted to get off it. I was trying nicotine chewing gum and all sorts, I just wanted off nicotine for good, because my grandma had smoked and she got lung cancer and she ended up having a lung removed because of the cancer. So it was like this back in the back of my mind, like you don't want to get any illness from smoking because your parents would be gutted. So like I was smoking cigs, I was trying to just smoke some mugwort as well, because mugwort's like a herb you can smoke, but it's not got any nicotine in, which was quite a good way to kind of transition from trying to get off weed, trying to get off cigarettes, but like on mugwort. But again, I just wanted to quit smoking for good. I ended up meeting who's now my spiritual teacher, and he was talking to me about balancing your internal chemistry to attain your enlightenment or become a Christ, and how what you need to do, there's 3 easy steps. Is one is go vegan, but eat well, so eat alkaline whole foods, or even raw if you can. The more raw you can eat, the more you're going to build your internal light. That's step 2, is build your internal light. And step 3 is you ascend your kundalini, and as long as you are alkaline, as long as you've built your internal light and saved your soul seed, which is like this Christic oil within, it ascends this oil to up into your brain, and it makes you enlightened. Enlightenment means enlighten the mind, so it makes you a Buddha or a Christ on this plane, awakens you, illuminates your like 12 strands of DNA, your 12 like cranial nerves. And so he was saying this is like, you need to get off the cigarettes if you want to try this enlightenment, because the cigarettes are going to be setting you out of balance, and you're addicted to the cigarettes, they've got toxins in, you need to basically be clean and healthy in order to achieve this. So I was thinking, how am I going to do this, because I've been trying cold turkey, and he said literally all you need to do is have he said you just need to consume some coconut oil. And coconut oil, if you consume it in a certain way, he gave me these instructions, and you basically take this coconut oil, you do this, you do that, and it takes an hour. And what it does is it triggers ketosis in your body, and ketosis is like a natural state you go into when you fast for 2 to 3 days, but instead you can trigger the ketosis in an hour using coconut oil rather than fasting. And he said once you get into the ketosis, it resets the chemistry of your brain, so everything you're addicted to, it resets your brain back into balance to the way it was before you became addicted to the substances. Because what happens is when you're getting the nicotine, you say it's like releasing certain feel-good chemicals, or it's like mimicking your internal brain chemistry, your brain stops making it because it's getting it from the nicotine. Your brain's like, oh good, I'm getting this from an external source, I don't need to make any more because I'm getting this chemistry from the cigarettes or the nicotine. So what happens then is it stops making as much, so then when you aren't having the nicotine and you're not making it, your body needs a certain amount of feel-good chemicals to function normally. So you start withdrawing and craving and shaking because you've not got this chemistry, but it's because your brain stopped making it because you're getting it from the nicotine. So now you're relying on the nicotine. It's an addiction because you need it to function, because your brain should be making its own, but it's not. So ketosis corrects that, so your brain starts making it again back to its original set point. It starts making the right amount again, so you don't need the external source anymore because your brain's had a reset. So I did it, and it literally it turned off like my cravings and withdrawals for the cigarettes and the weed, and I was just like able to give up then. And then really it was just down to a mental habit of like not going and having a cigarette at certain times. I didn't have the cravings anymore because it had turned it all off. So you can get into that state through fasting for 2.5 to 3 days. But the ketosis trick, we wrote it down in a book that I've got on my website. It's called You Are the Cure. It's like £8 I think to buy the PDF, and there's 5 different ways to do it. So one is with ketosis, but then one's with coffee. You can do it with matcha, you can do it with tea, or you can do it with cacao. But I find the the coconut one is probably the best one, and in the book it tells you the exact amount, like the exact way to do it, what you need to do before and after to make sure it does it properly, and like everything you need to know about addictions, about ketosis and stuff. So that just like literally helped me. Can see the coconut oil. I got mine from like Tesco. You can get it from Lidl, Aldi, any of the supermarkets. I just buy raw coconut oil, like cold pressed coconut oil. It's just normal coconut oil that you would like cook your food with and stuff. Someone says, tell more about Kundalini in our society. What do you mean about in our society? Yes, Farrell said nicotine's meant to be good to combat the nanoparticles. Also, colloidal gold, or the frequency tone for gold as well, deletes nanotech. How can you deal with it and what it is? So how can you deal with the Kundalini? The Kundalini is like it's like a energetic life force energy within everyone. And it's like basically this energy that's coiled at the base of your spine, and then your chakras are obviously light ports, and so you can basically fill your chakras and charge them with more and more light, so your rainbow vessel or your aura is holding more light, so you become like more lightful or more ascended. And then you can do certain things to trigger your Kundalini to rise up to the top, and this can trigger your spiritual enlightenment. It can trigger awakenings. It can trigger spiritual experiences. And so your Kundalini can almost be seen as like your life force energy, and people can either use it and save it internally and ascend it up and ascend their conscious awareness up to become enlightened masters, or some people can expel the Kundalini energy through too many orgasms, or like living a non-lightful life. And the Kundalini, rather than rising up and ascending up like you want to do in your conscious awareness, it drops down, it flops down almost like the Satan's tail, and it's called then the Kunda buffer. And that's then the energy is lost, it's been expelled, it's now like out, like leaking out your root chakra almost, and you pulling you down like in conscious awareness. So you want to be living a life where you're always trying to ascend upwards, the same way everything in life, all flowers, all plants, all trees, they all grow upwards towards the sun. We want to be doing that as well on like a consciousness or on a soul level, is growing upwards towards the light. We want to be ascending in conscious awareness up towards the light and not descending ourselves. And so there's certain ways we can live to build our internal light so we ascend, or to actually fill ourselves with darkness and negativity, which makes us descend. You can almost imagine it like they call it like buoyancy, like floating, something and buoyancy, density and buoyancy, I think it is. So like basically the more dense you are, the more heavy you are, the more you just naturally sink down, even in the other planes as well. The more light you are, the less dense you are, the more you start to ascend upwards and you float up into the higher planes and beyond after this life. And with the word dense, I find it very interesting, because think about the word dense, density, but the word dense or the word dim, both of them, like density and dense, means like heavy and thick. Dim means dark and dull, but also dense means stupid and dim means stupid. So what it's saying is, when we are like spiritually being stupid, when we are being asleep and dumb and not with it, not streetwise spiritually, this comes when we're being dense and when we're being dim, when we're living a lifestyle that's filling ourselves with darkness and not light. It makes us dense, it makes us stupid, it makes us dim, it makes us do stupid things. But when you start to fill yourself with light, it makes you bright, intelligent, bright. It makes you like light. It's like it gives you inner sight or insights. And so the more that you fill yourself with light and become lighter in your lifestyle, in your thoughts, in your mind, in your words, in your energy, then you become lighter, you become brighter, you become more radiant, you become more intelligent, more cosmically connected, you ascend upwards in the higher planes. So I just find it interesting that all of these words, it's either like you're either light or the night, and it's the same with you're either serving the light or the night. You're either eating the light or the night. It's very simple to distinguish between what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing in our lifestyle. So yeah, you guys are talking about celibacy. Thesis says, what's your thoughts on drinking natural spring water from the earth and how will it change? I think that if I was getting natural spring water from the earth, I think it's a great thing to do, but I would distill it still. I use a water distiller for all my water, so my concern about getting water fresh from the earth, fresh from the rain or whatever it is just like making sure it's fully clean enough, because you just like there's just poisons and chemicals everywhere really. So yeah, like I think that it would be really well charged. I think it would have a beautiful energy, but I would definitely distill it just before anyway. So yeah, high vibe food and water, absolutely. So this is why in our book club I want to read about the Essene Gospel of Peace, because they teach about eating raw vegan food, and there's a really nice part in it, and I'm saving the book for when we get on our group study call on November the 6th. If you wanted to join the group, you just go on the Great Light Garden website and you can sign up and join. And it's like Zoom calls that we're doing studying. The first book we're going to study is the Essene Gospel of Peace, but there's a little like saying in there where the Essenes was asking Jesus how to cook their bread, because Jesus said like don't cook your bread with fire. So they go, well, how do we cook our bread if we're not cooking it with fire? And he basically talks about how to make raw vegan bread, but they say it in such a beautiful way, because what they say is like, I'm gonna have to fully paraphrase it, but they were talking about how they said get like your wheat kernel or something, so like get your grain, and they said soak it in water so that the angel of water can bliss it with its light. Put it on the earth under the sun so that the angel of the earth and the angel of the sun can bliss it with its light. And as that happens, as these like different angels and these different elements and these different energies come together, they create a germ or a life force energy within this seed that allows it to sprout. This is like how raw vegans make sprouts. And then it says, and then like crush the grain and make your dough basically, and then put the bread out under the sun so that the angel of the sun can bliss the food and slowly cook the food, and really it's so it doesn't kill the life force energy and the enzymes in the food. But I just thought it's beautiful how it's not just saying, oh, cook it under the sun. It's saying, so the angels of the sun, the angels of the fire, of the earth, of the land. It's like when you really start to see that there's angels everywhere, there's elemental energies everywhere, and they can bliss your food. There's elemental energies and even a conscious awareness in your water. You can bliss your water. You can put spells in your water. Like everything, almost everything is alive and conscious. And it's really beautiful when you start to see it in that way, rather than just seeing it as, oh yeah, just put it under the sun. The angel of the sun will bliss it. The angel of the fire, like cook it in the holy fire, in God's fire kind of thing. Craig was saying the app. I'm not sure what you're talking about with the app, but the Great Light Garden, my website, if you just went onto the website there, you'll be able to see the Group Temple Study Book Club starts on November the 6th. That's when we're going to be doing our first Zoom call, studying the Essene Gospel of Peace. And from there, I'm not sure what text we're going to go through next. I think it might take us quite a while to go through this first one though. And it's not just about reading it, it's about like actually understanding the hidden truths in it as well, because there's a lot of depth to all of this stuff. They said, what do I know about silver and gold, the spiritual meaning? So silver and gold. Silver is a crystallization of the moon, and gold is a crystallization of the sun. Silver is a divine feminine precious metal, and gold is a divine masculine precious metal. And gold is, there's 7 magic metals, and gold has the highest charge, the highest spiritual charge of these 7. And gold, people wear gold and it charges you up with the divine masculine energy of the sun. So it gives you a strong, powerful spiritual charge, which is great for when you are being psychically attacked. If you've got the light of the sun in your field, then you've got a strong masculine protection energy. It's like having Archangel Michael in your field. When you wear silver, masculine emits energy, and silver or feminine absorbs energy. So when you wear silver, you are channeling in the energy of the moon, the divine goddess Mother Moon, but it also is, you receive energy more easily. So if you're being psychically attacked, you don't really want to be wearing silver, because that's going to be receiving the psychic attacks more. So if you are wearing silver and you're out in nature in beautiful energy, then wear silver, because you're going to receive the energy more easily, because you're charging your field with the divine feminine energy. But if you are being psychically attacked or you're around negative people, you want to wear your gold, because that's going to fill you with the masculine energy, which is more protective. If you're trying to do like meditations and amplify your psychic gifts, then silver's the one, because obviously the moon energy is all about that kind of stuff. But I find it really interesting that in Islam, you're not allowed to wear gold. They only allow you to wear silver. And in Islam, they worship the moon as well. And I find that very interesting, because they obviously suppress, and by the way, I don't want to say I talk negatively, but I see the good and the bad in all religions. But in Islam, they obviously suppress the women. They won't allow you to like show themselves. Like, they're putting them in all black, which is not a good colour to wear, because black absorbs negative energy. And so they're basically portaling in negative energy, making the women cover themselves up fully in all the black. The women, the way that they used to dress and present themselves, it was like so beautiful, and it's almost like sad to see how men and religion have made women like have to hide, like they can't, like some of them, they can't even like speak in public and stuff. It's really bad. But the fact that they aren't allowed to wear gold, it's like, oh, so you're not allowed to spiritually protect yourself, then you have to wear silver, which is receiving energy. It's like the whole religion's set up, especially for women, to just like put them in bad energy. So I find that very interesting indeed. Yeah. I am not a Pleiadian. I might have like Pleiadian guides, and some people say that like our souls are like we have pieces of a load of different star systems in us. And possibly I've had a Pleiadian life at some point, but yeah, I used to feel quite connected to the Pleiadians, but I've not really bothered with the star systems much in recent years. I've just really mostly worked with the angels, God, the dragons, the Lyrians, the lions. Even like the Hindu gods are really somehow like involved with me, and I'm like, what are you all doing here? Like, I must have just maybe had like a real Hindu life or something. Juicy said, you're experiencing psychic attacks and black magic in your relationship. What I do have is I've got a course. It's like a webinar that I did on my website. It's called Magic for Psychic Protection, and I go into so much detail about like covering all grounds on like basically how you can charge yourself with light, how to protect yourself, different spells you can do, spells for if you are being attacked, spells for if you've already been attacked and you're trying to get rid of the bad energy, and spells to protect yourself, to stop yourself from being attacked in future, mudras, how you can use different spiritual tools to help yourself, and how to call upon God, and also like why you need to call upon God for it. But just to give you a bit of advice while we're on here, like especially if it's in your relationship, what you really need to do is both of you need to be on board with this, because if it's just you doing this and not the other person, it can be very difficult. But what happens when you're being psychically attacked, especially in your relationship, is you'll argue a lot, and you argue and you're fighting each other. But that's exactly what the black magic is trying to do. But what you need to do instead is delete the black magic first, and then you'll probably stop arguing, you'll probably stop feeling the way you're feeling, and then you need to unite and go, I cancel and delete the word unite, but you need to come together and be like, we're on the same team against the black magic, as opposed to the black magic is making us fight. And so what you need to do is if you start arguing, you go, right, both of us need to say this spell to delete any negative energy off us first, and then let's just sit and have a conversation, but let's just get rid of the bad energy first. Always get rid of the bad energy before you do anything else, before you say anything you don't mean to say, before you argue, before you do anything. The minute you start arguing, go, this is a spell, let's just get rid of this. So what I would usually just do is be like, I delete all negativity in, on, around and near me instantly. I delete all negativity on our relationship instantly. God, angels, delete all black magic and negative on our relationship instantly. God, angels, delete all black magic and negative on my life instantly. Like, just, you could say any type of, you'll notice that the spell is pretty similar. It's just deleting all black magic and negative. Delete all black magic and negative. And spells, they can be so simple. You don't even need those specific words. You can just say, I dissolve all negative energy instantly. I dissolve and delete all curses instantly. Like, you can, as long as you say that command and you have those intentions in mind, it works. But also, there's a great archangel for relationships. There's two actually, but one is Archangel Chamuel, and the second is Archangel Raguel. So if ever you're having issues with your relationship, just literally say, Archangel Chamuel, Archangel Raguel, sort this out, sort our relationship out, stop and block the psychic attacks, and just help us like figure this out. And Archangel Chamuel and Raguel, they're so good, it's crazy. Chamuel's great for love. Chamuel's good for just like general love and relationships. Raguel's good if it gets quite like, say, political or legal, or if it gets like particularly bad, or it's something karmic, or it's a lot bigger and heavier than just, say, a few bickers. So I just call upon them both, and you'll notice the difference pretty much like straight away. It's very interesting when you call upon the angels to help you. But the angels are always here. And what I would advise as well, not just for you but for anyone, is get some cards, like angel cards. These are archangel cards. Out of these cards, what would I rate them? Maybe like a 7 out of 10. They're not amazing, but what they have allowed me to do is to get to know like at least 44 different archangels. Because when you get a deck of like archangel cards, if you like use your intuition and get one that you think is good, or one that people rate, and then you can literally like pull a card and it'll teach you about the different archangels that are available, and then you can get to know them like on a personal level and start working with them. You can call upon one particular archangel for your Ray. So you go, right, to Ray, Archangel Mariel wants to work with me. What's my guidance for Ray Mariel? And like you can do a meditation with them or try and speak to them and connect with them. But really it's good to just feel like you can get to know them all a bit more, because there's so many. There's more than 44. People say there's like thousands, maybe even millions of like archangels, and so they're great. They're really good to work with. I found them to be, them and the dragons and the lions are some of the most powerful beings. So Daniel said, what do I think about Islam? They deal with the angels. I think there's light and dark in all religion, but I personally don't follow a religion because I think that they've been more infiltrated than they do good. So I like get to know the angels, God, Jesus outside the Bible, outside of religion. I don't know about Muhammad. I don't know about Muhammad. Like, it's difficult when the scripture is talking about him like marrying a 6-year-old girl. Like, I don't, there's certain people in religion like Jesus Christ that I know as a spiritual guide, who I know from Christianity is a beautiful, divine, strong, powerful energy, like a good soul. So I could say yeah, in Christianity there are some saints or some good beings in there. The same with like the Buddha, the same with Krishna, like the same with Kuan Yin and White Buffer Woman. So many different cultures and religions with what I think are true light people who walk this earth, but didn't necessarily plan on making a religion around themselves afterwards. I think it's humans that did that. So I think there's a lot of like light beings in religion, but Muhammad, I don't know. Don't know about that guy. But that's why I said I don't know, because who knows, it might have been all lies about the 6-year-old thing. It could just be people putting perversions in these good holy books that used to be really pure. I wouldn't be surprised. It's what's happened in a lot of religious texts, unfortunately. Random bike ride, hey! What's the spiritual meaning about the number 7? The number 7, it's of all the numbers, it's meant to be the one that signifies like spiritual transformation and just like really everything to do with spirituality, really. So if you were seeing the number 7, I'd probably take it as a sign that like you're doing well spiritually, or you maybe need to focus on your spiritual life. Chinese whispers in religion, yeah. I don't even know where that term comes from and whether it's like a racist term, that. I know it's not. I know that it's not. Like, when I grew up, we used to say, oh, Chinese whispers, but I'm like, where's that even come from? Now I've just read it, I'm like, should we be saying that stuff anymore or what? It's not racist. I don't know, because like, what did that come from then? What does that even mean? I know what it means, but to say, it's like there's a term that says Indian giver, and what the meaning is like, oh, you give something and you take it away. That's not a cool thing to, you can't say that. And Indian people aren't like that. So like, just to say Chinese whispers, it's like making me think, why do we even say that? Should we not say that anymore? So my personal website is aurazikara.com, and then it's just literally spell it the same as what's my name on here. That's where my Magic for Psychic Protection webinar is. And then I'm having the group study session for our temple study, basically studying the Essenes Gospel of Peace. That's what we're going to do on the Great... Hang on. TikTok wants to check that I am real. The Essenes Gospel of Peace we're going to read on the Great Light Garden website. So that's literally just type in thegreatlightgarden.com. And that is where we will be doing our group study. But yeah, sometimes I can't actually believe that, like, how far religion's got. Like, there's people that genuinely, like... There's people that have built their whole life and belief system and faith and like mindset around like just a book. Just the book, almost like the book is more important than even like having your own personal relationship with God and Jesus. I think maybe I struggle to get my head around it a little bit, because I would hope that, like, if like Christians, I would hope that if they're into Christianity, it's because, like, on a soul level, they remember Jesus and they remember God, and maybe they walked with Jesus in the past. But then it's like, But if that's true, why don't they remember the truth about like Jesus and the way he really lived, and the truth of the teachings, not what's in the Bible? That's when it's confusing, because it's like they're meant to be diehard Jesus fans, but they don't seem to know him at all, and almost like they would actually shun him if they ever like saw him in real life. I don't go to church. This is the best temple to go to. These temples here, you want to go walk into these temples and go and sit on the throne of God in your mind, your third eye. You want to basically find God within. And if you wanted to feel closer to God and to Jesus and to the angels, and you wanted to like you wanted to learn more about spirituality, I wouldn't go to church. I would join our temple study that we're doing on the 6th of November, because all the stuff I've learned, and this is, it's called syncretism. So you learn about all the religions, about all the paths, all the different paths and beliefs people have. You learn about them all, and then you go, right, what feels like it's the truth, and what does everyone have in common, and what feels like lies, and then you pick and choose what works for you, or you pick and choose the important stuff, and then you go, yes, this is the truth. So you pull the truth out of the crap, really. And because I've learned that, I've done that, I've lived that for so long, in our not Bible study, in our temple study, when we're studying the Essene Gospel of Truth, I'm going to be teaching it from the perspective of like the open mind on the possibility of all things, and like learning and seeing the truth on all walks of life. So it's not just like a biased coming from one angle. It's going to be like a very open-minded discussion about not only like not only what you get taught in all religions, but actually the secret knowledge that was passed down by lineages, that's like hidden knowledge that you don't get to find out about in the mainstream or at church. This is the stuff you find out through having your connection with God. And so that's what we'll be studying really in the Essene Gospel of Peace. And then not only that, but how to actually put their practices into our lives, because the Ascended Masters, these books, they weren't there just so that the books aren't there so that we can just like read them and go, right, now I'm saved. I read this book and I've accepted that this book is the only way, and now I'm going to heaven and you're not. That's not what they came for. The Ascended Masters came down, like Jesus, like they all came down to say, they all came down to basically teach us how to become an Ascended Master and how to escape the Matrix. Because when you come into this game, into this earth plane, it's very easy to get attachments, to get karma, to get stuck in cycles, and then you get stuck in the cycle of reincarnation. And almost all religion teaches about reincarnation because it's a true thing and you need to learn how to get out of it. So people get stuck in the cycle of reincarnation, but the Ascended Masters came down to escape the cycle of reincarnation, to teach them, all those that would listen, to teach them how to escape the cycle of reincarnation, how to ascend and become ascended enlightened masters on this plane. These are the disciples, these are the Essenes, these are the Nazarenes, the Gnostics or whatever, even like the Cathars and stuff, I believe, maybe even the Rosicrucians before. I've not really looked into the Rosicrucians to see whether they're still lightful or whether they got turned. But these different sects, they learn how to become enlightened, and this is what the ancient masters taught. But you can't just become enlightened through just believing in Jesus. You have to actually live the same way they did. That's what they came to do, is embody the lifestyle and teach people how to do it. And so all the books, they were there to teach us how to copy what they did, walk that same path. How do I become an ascending enlightened master? How do I become a Christ? How do I become a Buddha? That's what the deal is. That's what they came down to teach. That's what we're meant to be doing. So that's what we're going to do in our Bible study. It's not even Bible study. In our temple, in our temple study. our group temple study with the Essenes Gospel of Truth, that's what we're going to be diving deep into, because I want to look at how we actually live it, how we actually become it ourselves. Annie said, will we talk about the teachings on Wednesday? No. Hey, don't work. No, Wednesday we're going to be talking about like literal world events that are going on right now, and like navigating them, the truth behind them, because what I did, and I've made notes for Wednesday, is I made notes because I'm giving updates on what's happening in the UK and Europe, and I've always given updates on what's happening in the US, but not just updates, it's like the spiritual side of things as well, and what's the real deal about it all. So I was making notes about the different things that have been going on, and also what's the actual hidden agendas, what's really going on a spiritual level. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So just to like give you guys a quick overview, definitely talking about the digital IDs, illegal immigration, what's happening, the reason behind it all. What else? The synagogue attack in Manchester that happened recently. Kingdom of Kabbalah, did you guys see that in Scotland? The Kingdom of Kabbalah in Scotland. Gosh. Some guy in the UK has left his castle to some swans. So talking about animal rights, and like maybe even in the future people might start leaving like their inheritance to animals and stuff. There was a call in the UK, I don't know if this is true, but there was a call in the UK that policemen had to admit if they're Freemasons or not. I need to look into that before Wednesday. Someone tried to report Keir Starmer for hate speech, inciting violence in a talk that he did, but the report won't go through. She tried to report it 6 times, it won't go through. What else? Stabbing in the streets in London, lots of that going on. Cancel and delete that instantly. Storm Amy, with all of the electricity going out, the flotillas in Gaza. Greta Thunberg. Greta, she works for the night, guys. She's like George Soros' granddaughter or something. The night infiltrate these lightful movements. Albanian AI minister. Christians slaughtered in Nigeria. Gen Z protests around the world. Government disillusions. In Germany, people are getting arrested for hate speech and stuff. And then a channeled message from the angels. Basically all the ascended masters, angels, earth dragons that are guarding and guiding the earth, what guidance they have for us. That's what I'm planning on sharing really on Wednesday. I'm not a Leo, but I'll give you 5 Gryffindor house points if you can guess what my sun's sign is. So I'll let you, if you get sun, moon or rising, you get 5 stars. And I also got a channeled message on why Scotland was getting attacked as well. I also have an angel reading group on my website that you can join. So if you had any like messages, if you had any guidance you wanted from your angels, you just basically type it in a post in the group, and then it does take me a few days to reply because I'm trying to monitor it and man it, and sometimes I'll read your guidance, but I need to just sit down and tune into your angels and see what guidance they have for you. But if you do want any guidance, I'm doing that in my on my or a Zikara website. What you do, I think, is you would just go onto my website and you log in, create an account, and then in your profile section there will be a section called My Groups, and it's in there just called Angel Readings. You can go in and you can type if you wanted any readings in there. But what I will say is I don't charge for them at the minute, and I don't on my Aura Zikara website I do have some services. I do like past life regression, energy healings, angel healings, house clearing, pet reiki. So I do these different types of things, even just like spiritual life guidance, mentorship, but only ever pay me on the website. So like if ever you get people reaching out to you, because I do get fake accounts and scammers, hey, God's just told me you need an angel reading, like pay me on PayPal. No, don't ever do that, because I don't ever, like, only ever buy stuff from my official website. Don't ever send PayPal stuff unless it says on my website, donate. You can donate me money, but it has to come through my website. You can PayPal me, but just always do it through my website, because the amount of scammers is ridiculous. And it's not just me. It seems to be there's a business for scamming people with like fake readings and stuff. Daniel, I'm not a witch, man. I'm not a witch, Daniel. The word witch came from the word wicked, which means like basically doing black magic. And I just feel like it doesn't have the best connotations anymore because of the witch trials. But I do call myself a mage. And I don't really do witchy rituals. Like I don't like do full rituals, especially if it's using animal products, because I've seen some people, they'll use like animal bones or eggs and stuff, and it's like, why are you doing magic with like animal stuff? Like that is black magic. You don't want to be doing any kind of magic with demons, using animal energy, because that's like, if you're using an egg in your spells, if people even do egg cleanses, don't do egg cleanses. Not good karma. It's not good karma at all. Yeah, it's like using the life force of another being, like an animal, and because the egg has come from that chicken, there's an energetic connection with that chicken and the egg, and then you're filling that chicken's egg with all your bad energy as you're doing an egg cleanse, filling it with all your curses, bad energy and crap. That egg's still energetically connected to the chicken. That animal doesn't deserve that. And you don't want to be using the chicken's life force energy and your magic to manifest your own stuff. Use your own life force energy, because you've got an abundance of it, and the more you live a lightful life, the more you can build that energy, and the more you maintain that energy within rather than expelling it. This is why we're talking about celibacy. The more you hold that energy within, then the more you... Hang on, someone's turning the internet off, one sec. I'm gonna try and stay on. I think the internet's still on at the minute. I'll go onto my normal Wi-Fi if the internet gets turned off. Hi. It's still on. Yeah, use your own life force. The more you abstain from orgasm, the more you build your internal light and you don't expel it, then the more you have your own life force energy to put into your manifestations, to put into your creativity, to just have general energy for your life, like to get stuff done. And this is the one thing I've been learning more and more, is the importance of health with your spiritual purpose, because your health of your vessel is literally the foundation to you getting anything done. What's the point in having money, having success, having love and having family if you've got no health, and then you end up not being able to stay here on this plane because you've not looked after yourself? Sometimes people have illness and disease that isn't their fault, and it's not like you're not looking after yourself. Sometimes people, I think sometimes they can just be in a bad environment, like you work somewhere toxic or something, you're breathing in these fumes, you end up like getting a tumour or something because your body's not been able to eliminate it. Then it's not really your fault, but we can do stuff to help shift and change that and help heal you. But I do talk about and teach about preventative illness, preventative health. Maybe I'm not sure how to word that one, but if you're well, or even if you're not well, just always living healthy and well and putting your health first as a priority, because that's really the foundation. And if you don't have that and you end up leaving this place like as if leaving earth because you've not looked after your vessel, that's your whole purpose, your whole life plan, whatever God planned for you, however you're going to change the world, that's all you just done and dusted then, because you've left. So if you feel like you're here for a purpose and you're here to make a difference, look after your health, because it's going to take a lot of your time trying to nurture yourself back to health if you don't look after yourself properly. Yeah, telekinesis I believe is 100% real, and I think we used to do it all the time. And I think that before we fully descended it, like what's happened is when we were first created and when we first came to earth, we were such high vibrational beings. We were just really energy. We weren't crystallized into physical form. So as energy beings, we could manifest instantly. We could think things. We could speak to each other in our minds. Like we didn't even speak out loud. We didn't even have voice boxes because we were energy really. But then as we descended, we got more and more dense, more and more crystallized into form, more and more into physical. And then you like end up being a physical vessel, quite like dense and tense. And then you get more and more shut off from the spiritual. And so then like your psychic gifts start getting shut off as well the more you descend. And so we used to be able to do telekinesis really easily, but the more we've descended into a lower 3D density, the more it's more difficult. We're more bound by these restrictions and laws because everything gets more physical and dense and heavy. And so I think that like we used to be able to fly into the sky, and I think we still have all these capabilities within us, but whether we could physically do that right now or whether we need to wait until the actual substance that this matrix is made of needs to be lied to again, so that the laws of this cosmos are lifted so that we can actually do this. Because what happens is when we all collectively believe stuff, we start to create it. So if everyone believes humans can't fly, we put those limits on ourselves, and then we have these limiting beliefs and actual spells and black magic and laws holding people down. You can't fly because the collective consciousness has bound us to these spells. So the more we can start to dissolve these spells and like shift the energy again, the more we'll start to access and awaken all these gifts, these natural gifts that are within us. Naturally, we're meant to be at optimum health. Naturally, if we were just connected to our natural, full, true, divine nature, we'd be fully healthy and we'd be always rejuvenating our health. We would not die. We would constantly rejuvenate ourselves. They've proven that cells can live forever if they're in the right environment. So like it's probably the collective belief of aging and the collective belief of everyone has to die that makes us age and die, and also our lifestyle. But the more we start to dissolve these spells and these limiting beliefs that as a collective we put on ourselves, the more we'll start to be able to access all of this stuff ourselves again. Daniel, your cat, 1000%. Cats are like, they are spiritual beings, so are dogs really, but cats are more. Dogs are meant to be like spiritual but more in the physical guardians, and then cats are more spiritual but like guardians on the spiritual level. So they can, on like an astral level, they can manifest themselves as dragons and as like mythical creatures and griffins, and they'll fight demons or negative energies that try and come and spy on you and stuff. They'll protect you on a psychic and spiritual level. So that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Yeah. I had a cat when I was like, I don't know when I got her, maybe back when I was 12 or something, and I had her till I was probably like 18 or something. No, I had her longer than that then. She lived till she was like 18. I'm trying to do the math now, like how old does that make me if I was 12 and 18? 18, 28, 30. That could be right. she was like my best friend. I've never known a love like what I had with her. It was like a soul love. I had this connection with her, and it's funny because I never once even had like a conversation with her because she can't even speak English, and I can't speak cat. But we really connected. It was beautiful. Hi, David. Daniel, that's really nice. It's like with animals, you just look into their eyes and you just see this soul, and it's so heart activating. This is why I will always fight for the animals. Animal activist at heart. I'll always fight for the animals and veganism for animals first, alongside spirituality, because I think that your spirituality is important and your soul is important, but I'll always fall back onto the vegan for the animals. And there's not one thing that anyone can say that excuses killing and eating animals for food. It always goes back to animal abuse. So and so you can't, like, no one could ever argue with me about why it's okay to not be vegan. I don't know who Jakin Shirker is. David says, absolutely not to the dead animal flesh. We don't eat that crap, do we, David? We choose love and light. Dimich said, you love cats. You used to have 4. Daniel said, you're from Lyria. You can sense those lion energies. Okay, cool. I will check him out on Insta then. Similar to a Rife machine. Right. Yeah, I definitely think like frequency and sound's gonna be big soon with the healing. I know it's getting big anyway, but I think it's gonna be like mainstream big at some point soon. Any tips on first starting with connecting with the archangels? Yeah, what I would do is find a guided meditation on YouTube, like guided meditation to meet maybe like your own guardian angel, or to meet Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael. If there's a particular archangel that calls to you that you feel like you're interested in learning more about, you could even watch a video on the archangels and see which one you're like, hey, for some reason I'm feeling really interested about this particular one. Or if you just love nature, you could type in Archangel of Nature and it'll probably tell you like Archangel Ariel or something like that. And then you could just, if it was me, I would search on YouTube guided meditation to meet Archangel Ariel, and I would see which one I'm drawn to and how much time I have. And I would start there because I find guided meditations are easier to like get to them without mental blocks. And then that's how I very first met my first angel and guide, was just doing a guided meditation, receiving it. I met Jesus. It was actually hilarious because I thought Jesus was like so uncool. I thought that Christianity was just so uncool. I couldn't believe people really thought that Mary was a virgin and had a baby. I thought, oh my gosh, like Joseph obviously like Joseph was a mug, Mary slept around, and I used to think all that stuff. But actually, when I learned, since I've woken up spiritually, I actually do believe that immaculate conception is possible. Anyhow, when I first did my first like guided meditation to meet my spirit guide, I was like thinking, right, I wasn't sure who I was going to meet, maybe like a Buddhist monk or something. I wasn't sure, maybe an angel. So I sat there and they're like, your spirit guide is walking up to you now, like you can see them, like what do they look like? And I thought, oh, for God's sake, because it's effing Jesus. I was like, great, I've just pulled the first person I know out of the Bible and like pretending it's my spirit guide or whatever, and they're like ask them its name, and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, for God's sake, of course it's effing Jesus. I thought maybe I've just like made this whole thing up. And And then it turns out that Jesus ended up being like my main spirit guide, but like he still is. He still is up to this day. But I'm glad, because I know Jesus outside of Christianity, and he's not like he is kind of like what Christians say, in the sense that they'll say he's like fearless, and he's like the lion and the lamb, in the sense that he's like a joker and he's funny and he's like almost like a great brother almost. But then he would literally like he would fight to the death if he needed to. Like, he's not scared of being a warrior as well. But yeah, guided meditations I find are great, because it's almost like you don't know what to expect, and then so it allows you to just see what happens, and it might surprise you who turns up. What do I say to people who eat meat, and what led me to veganism? How do you get our protein? So, what led me to veganism really was, I love animals. I've always loved animals so much, and I always knew, for like probably 5 or 6 years, I always knew that if I loved animals I shouldn't be paying for them to be killed. But I didn't really care enough in my heart, because I just really liked pepperoni and sausages and chicken, and I was a fussy eater anyway, so I didn't want to give up all those pleasures. And to be honest, food was I had quite an emotional attachment to food. It was a comfort blanket, really. So for like probably 5 or 6 years, I knew that I shouldn't be eating animals, but I didn't care enough to do anything about it, because I didn't really want to face it and look at it. And then my mum was veggie, my sister was veggie, she went vegan, my dad was a butcher. So my mum was veg, and my mum was veggie for health. Then my sister went veggie, then vegan. Then my sister was like, finally convinced me to go veggie, and then I was like veggie for like probably half a year. And then I learnt about the dairy industry and the egg industry, and how that's probably even more cruel than the animal agriculture, like just the meat industry. So I was like, I've got to give up egg, milk and cheese now, when that's all I ate when I went veggie. But I did, because eventually, it was like almost part of my awakening, I think. And then I started like seeing footage of like slaughterhouse footage. That's when it really hits home, and then that's when it's like a little too real. And that's when you go, oh crap, like I'm actually paying for this, and I can't bear to watch it, but I'm paying for that. And so it's like, you can't love animals. You can think you do, because I used to think I loved animals, but if you really love animals, if you really love something, then you want the best for them, even if that means you have to give up what's comfortable in your life. So I learned what true love really is, which is giving up my comforts, giving up meat and animal products and stuff to save them, so that they can live, because they get the whole life taken from them for a sandwich. And so when you start to see the footage, then you like really, it's like it wakes up your brain. It's like all the spells get taken off you, and you go, oh crap, like that's a horrible thing for someone to experience. And I love animals, I would never want them to experience that. I couldn't ever kill an animal myself. And so like I went vegan, and my dad was the last one who was full meat eater. He loved meat, and he was he used to be a butcher, but he wasn't a butcher anymore, but he used to be a butcher. So like one time we were arguing, because I just watched some footage about like UK animal farms and stuff. And just to answer your question about protein, is vegan plants have all the 9 amino acids you need to create your own protein. So they have all the 9 essential amino acids. So animals create their own protein from plants, so you can create your own. That's what humans do, that's what animals do. So if you're eating protein from animals, what you're doing is, the animals have eaten the plants and they've created their own protein, and you're eating theirs. But what you could just do is eat the plants and get your own protein instead, which is what our bodies do. If I had my own farm and everything was more natural and moral, would I start eating meat? Never in my whole existence would I go back to eating meat. Never, ever, ever. ever, ever, ever. There's no such thing as like moral farming, moral slaughterhouse, moral killing. There's none of it. It doesn't exist. And also for spiritual reasons, if you ate meat, that's you. It's on a consciousness level. It descends you. It takes away your light, and you can shoot you cloud your conscious awareness with the animal's consciousness. So the animal then is in your awareness, and its consciousness starts to play out in your field. This is when people say you don't want to be in your animalistic nature. You want to ascend and be an angel as opposed to like a beast. And so when you eat beasts or meat, and I don't want to call them beasts because they aren't beasts, they're beautiful animals, they don't deserve death. But it's a consciousness that we shouldn't be consuming. We don't want to be putting like blood, DNA, hormones from animals in our own vessel. It clouds and acidifies our vessel and creates illness and disease. So just seeing, cheese and milk as well is unnatural and unfair, because when before I went vegan, I didn't realise, but cows don't produce milk just to produce milk. They have to be pregnant like every other mammal. You have to be pregnant to produce milk. So what they do in the dairy industry is they make the cows pregnant. The cows have to be pregnant for 9 months, the same as a mother. The cows give birth to their children, and then the children get taken away, and then we pump out all that milk so that humans can drink milk. And the baby males get sent straight to slaughter, and the baby females get taken away, but they then get grown up to become dairy cows so that they can then have babies and we can steal the milk. So yeah, like no other species continues drinking milk or eating cheese after they've been a baby. No other species has milk or cheese from another species. Yeah, 1000%. When I went vegan, my health changed, my spirituality changed, my awareness changed, the spells came off me. If you go vegan but do it properly, it will change your life more than anything else. And when I say do it properly, I mean like sometimes people can go vegan but they don't really do it right, so they'll like eat a load of crap, and then you can be unhealthy and be vegan if you're eating a load of junk food and stuff. Or like if you go vegan and you go, oh, I could barely eat anything, and then you kind of don't really eat much because you don't want to eat much, and then you go, oh, I felt really weak. It's like you weren't eating enough. You weren't making sure you were getting everything you need and stuff. You need to just like do it properly, and maybe like even like I'm happy to be a mentor for you, a vegan mentor. I've got sessions on my website, spiritual guidance. We can do like a 6 weeks, if 6 sessions or whatever, like get you on to being vegan and do it properly and help you out with it. But it would, whether you do it with me, whether you do search it online or do it yourself, like it would completely shift you, because it's not just about the physical, although healthy, health-wise it does massive changes. It's a spiritual thing, it's a mental thing, it's a heart activating thing. But yeah, I'd love to help you. I feel like it's almost my forte because I've been there and done it myself, and I've learned so much about it over the years. But any questions as well, guys, feel free to ask me. Daniel, fish is an absolute no-go. Any animal products, just no. For spiritual reasons, for physical reasons, all of those things. Really, like, veganism is the baseline on like if you want to be really on your spiritual path, veganism is the baseline, and then eating healthy like whole foods or raw is even better, because like I said, you can be vegan but you can eat junk food and crap. So when you do that, even though it might taste good, it's just like eating junk food, where no matter whether you're vegan or not, like you will feel sluggish. You will, like, your body will have to be filled with chemicals and toxins because it's junk food, whether it's vegan or not. But just getting rid of the animal blood and flesh will really change your mind and your spirituality anyway. It ascends you. Yeah. Daniel, there's so much fish in the ocean. Don't matter how many fish there are, you can't go around killing people because there's just loads of them. You can't go around killing animals just because there's loads of them. There's loads of stray dogs, so you're going to start killing them and eating them off the streets because there's just so many. There's enough to go around. Yeah, that dog wants to live, that fish wants to live. I couldn't imagine people saying, do you know what, there's so many Daniels around in the world that getting rid of one won't harm. I'd stick up for you, Daniel. I'd say, no, Daniel deserves to live. The only thing you're offending, Daniel, is your soul and your angels. Offensive. Yeah, and things like buying from specific shops and stuff, it doesn't make a difference. Like grass-fed beef and cage-free chickens, it doesn't make a difference. A lot of it's just like wordplay to make you think that you're buying into something that's less cruelty. Hey Kelly, so delightful to see you. A lot of the stuff that it's just wordplay to make you think that you're buying into things that aren't cruel, but it all is. And on a spiritual level, it's just a no-go. Someone who's struggling to speaking has become so tiring. I would maybe even look at if there was any like energetic things going on. Like whether you need to cut any cords, whether you need to remove any attachments, and delete any black magic and spells on your throat chakra. I used to have it when every time I would try and go to meditate, I would start to get really drained, like I would want to fall asleep, but I knew it was a psychic attack. It was like something, a spell or something was being triggered. Anytime I was getting close to maybe reaching my guides or getting guidance from God or anything like that, it was like I would start to be so drained that I would fall asleep as opposed to get to that point, and I knew it was something that I needed to deal with. Daniel said you haven't bought chicken meat in over a year. That's good. Yeah, all our paths are different. What I always say is like, once you know better, you do better, and that's it. And you just always try to do your best. And sometimes you have days where you fall off the path and you're like, oh, I didn't do as good as I wanted to do today, and it's like, well, what are you going to do then? Are you going to mope about it, or are you going to just get back on, and then the next moment you can try and do better? And that's all you can do, really, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Kelly says, authority is a daughter of light. It trumps all illusions, 1,000%. Daniel, well, you've learned something new. And that's the best thing, is like always learning every single way. Learning in everything. You could have taken offense to it. You could have decided to go, no, I reject it. But no, you had an open mind and an open heart. And you're like, hey, do you know what? I might like my fish, but I'm learning something new. So that's the best way to be about anything in life, is just like be open-minded. Learn, grow, choose what works for you, but also bear in mind the implications it has on others, like say animal products directly having a negative implications on the animals that we have to kill for the food. Exactly, Annie. So the thing is, if we can eat without having to kill an animal, it's better to do that. And I always teach, I know that people sometimes need, say, the vegan processed meat and the junk food to kind of get to transition, and sometimes people need the vegan milk and the vegan fake eggs and stuff. Like, if you need that, then do that, because that's what I did. But what I teach on my page and in my courses and stuff, like my return to eating journey, is about being healthy vegan. So that means like whole foods, raw if you can, like raw's the best, fruitarian even better, but we all start somewhere, and I kind of talk about it being almost like a sliding scale. Vegan, I feel, is the baseline, but then you can ascend upwards and go, hey, whole foods vegan, or you can go raw vegan, or you can go fruitarian, or you can go breatharian, and you can just continue to ascend the way that we consume things in life. Daniel's saying about, Louisa said, why do I say Ray and not day? So the reason being is because Ray makes more, for me, it makes more sense than day, because the word day is similar to like die. The letter D is like a delete, delight, it's a D things, it's almost like this, to take away. And to ray, to radiate, is to kind of gift life to, and to be a light almost. And so the different days of the week, the word days, to be in dazed and confused spell, of the week, to be weak and tired and depressed, or the weekend, you're weakened on the weekend. There's these little words in our everyday language that cast negative energy or negative subconscious connotations. And so instead of saying a day of the week, I like to say a ray of the septenary, being the 7 rays, which is these 7 different types of energy that we cycle through every week or every septenary. So the rays they're actually governed by the luminaries in the sky. Sun ray, Sunday is sun ray, Monday is moon ray, Tuesday is Mars ray, Wednesday is Mercury ray, Thursday is Thor's ray or Jupiter ray, Friday is Venus ray, Saturday is Saturn ray. And so they're actually like energies, rays, lights in the sky that govern the rays of the septenary. The energies literally govern life on Earth. And so it all kind of fits in a lot better. My daily food, I used to eat a lot more, and if you're doing raw, if you want to do raw, eat a lot. But I used to eat a lot, and since like I've built up all my nutrients, I don't need to eat that much anymore. So I just kind of, I wake up, I have some juices, and really I would have like a big fat salad at like 11 a.m. or 12 or something, just a really massive salad, and that's what I'll have for the day. And then I'll have juices following that for the rest of the day, maybe some bananas sometimes, maybe some dates. My Return to Eden journey, I'm going to be releasing it as a self-study course in Jan, and that's literally how to go fully raw vegan and how to live a lightful life. So I've got like spells that can overcome addictions, I've got like how to prep being a raw vegan, how to do a colon cleanse, like what you need to eat, how much you need to eat, recipe book for being raw vegan, how to soak your nuts and sprout your beans, and things you need to be aware of, and like just everything you'd need to know to go raw vegan and to be successful with it. Yeah, Saturn ray. So when I say I would only eat like one salad, hi Miss G, when I say I'd only eat one salad per ray, don't do that. If you're going raw for the first time, eat like 10 salads. You need to eat a lot. You need to eat a lot, because it digests so much quicker. So until your vessel gets used to being able to digest it quickly and starts to build up your reservoirs again, your reserves of like all of your nutrients and stuff, then you will need to rebuild up all your nutrients. Especially if you've eaten a poor diet before then, like junk food, not been getting a lot of nutrients and vitamins and minerals and stuff, then you'll be depleted anyway. And you might have like food clogged up in your colon, so you're not absorbing your nutrients properly, you're not eating enough, you'll feel tired and weak and low because your vessel's trying to heal itself, but you're not giving it enough. So you need to eat more at first until you heal yourself, until you build up your nutrients and your minerals, and then you can start to do things like intermittent fasting or not needing to eat as much. And I don't eat only one salad a day because I'm forcing myself to do that. It's just me following what my vessel needs. If it needs more, I'll eat more, but I don't need more anymore. So for the colon cleanse, Miss G, I've got a free one on my website, or zikara.com. It should just be on there. and you can just go and have a look at, but I use like prune juice for it. Prune juice, and maybe like I think you need prune juice, cold pressed oil, like a cold pressed olive oil or something, and either apple juice or orange juice, and then a lot of water, distilled water or spring water, not tap water. So I'm gonna head off, but it's been delightful to chat to everyone. Thanks so much. I'm glad that this went well, because when I was on live before, it was like I was getting no comments through, and I thought like, God, this is going to be a long one. So I really appreciate you guys speaking back to me and having a good conversation. It's been really delightful to get to have a proper chat with you guys. I love you all so much, and I'll see you again soon. All right, take care. Ta-ra.